Quick confession. I was getting ready to trash the ending of Arcane. I was really getting ready to do it. I was working on a script and everything. But then I did something I never really did, ever. I rewatched key episodes of Arcane. And yeah, Arcane might be the best animated show I've ever seen. If you guys don't know, I'm talking about Arcane Season 2. The series ended this weekend. And let's just jump right into it, because why did I have issues with Arcane? Why did I hate the ending of Arcane the first time I watched it? First thing I want to say is, I really do think Act 1, out of all the acts, is still the best act in Arcane. And I think that the way they ended Act 1 of Season 2 really set the bar extremely high for me. I was under the impression Caitlyn was going to go through some kind of Eren Yeager type arc and etc. When Act 2 dropped, I'm not going to lie, I really did not like Act 2 at all. I'm not going to say at all, but I disliked more things that I liked. Primarily because I felt like Act 2 was initially extremely rushed. The whole Vander subplot, the whole subplot with I think her name was Isha, the little girl that kept following Jinx around, and then they build a bond. I felt like her going out the way she went out was rushed. I felt like the Vander subplot is like, why bring him back and then get rid of him immediately and etc. I honestly, I didn't like it so much that I was this close into making a video about it. And now let's talk about Act 3. I liked it more than Act 2, but I really despised the last episode when I initially watched it. So there it was. I loved Act 1. I despised Act 2. And I had a lot of issues with Act 3. But what changed? Why did my mind change? Why did I go from not liking it to loving it and calling it one of the best animated shows ever? It's easy. I changed my perspective. What do I mean by I changed my perspective? I've seen a bit of people talk about Arcane and etc. And the people that didn't really like it had some of the issues I initially had. But I feel like the issues I initially had was because I had a certain expectation on what I wanted. And the fact that they didn't give it to me, I held it against the show. But I don't think that's fair. And what really made me change my perspective is that Arcane did what Arcane was always intending to do. It's not like Arcane was running out of ideas and then they brought in the Vander subplot because they didn't have ideas and then they killed off that girl for shock value and etc. This is the story of Arcane. It's a tragedy in a way. The thing that kind of started everything, the Vander and Silco subplot, it's a tragedy because in this timeline, they both had to die. But in the alternate timeline where Ekko went, they both lived. But not only them. I should have known Jinx. I should have known Jinx wasn't going to live, because in the alternate timeline, Vi died, but Jinx survived and Jinx lived a happy life. But in this timeline, it seems like Jinx dies and eventually Vi's gonna live that happy life. The story was always intended to be somewhat of a tragedy, but with some silver linings. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I watched it, I didn't even fully realize Jace died, because I was so mad that I was kind of looking at my phone and etc. But when I rewatched all these episodes and I saw when how Jace kind of lost his mind and etc., and I saw how his character arc concluded versus how his character arc started, it makes perfect sense that he went out the way he did, but he went out the way he did with Victor. I heard some people complain, oh, he left Mel alone, why did he leave Mel, blah, 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 and etc. Let's be honest, Jace and Mel weren't really the most compatible couple. Everything started with Hextech for him. He was supposed to die, I think it was with his mom. And then now that we know Victor was that warlord dude. This is the biggest thing about Arcane. And I haven't heard anybody talking about this. Everyone that died, Jace, Victor, Heimerdinger, Jinx, Vander, Silco, and etc. They all died because they were literally supposed to die. I haven't heard anybody talking about this, and it's such a cool, subtle detail. Jinx, Jace, and Heimerdinger were supposed to die no matter what happened, and let me explain why. Jace was supposed to die in his original timeline, but the Warlord evolved Victor saved him and gave him Hextech. But he was supposed to originally die in that timeline. Jinx was supposed to originally die in that timeline like 5 different times, but Ekko kept rewinding time. Heimerdinger died in the alternate timeline, but Ekko rewinded time. So all the people that did die, but like divine intervention happened and they lived, they all ended up dying eventually. Jace's death kind of makes sense because his whole purpose was Hextech. Like, he was supposed to die, some warlord saved him, gave him Hextech. His whole reason for living on was Hextech. So the fact that Victor was supposed to destroy the Hextech, and he told Jace to go, and Jace said, hey, you're my partner, I'm sticking here with you, that makes sense. Jinx, she said it herself. Vi can't really live a happy life with her in the picture. It's kind of her whole name, Jinx, in a way, which is kind of a tragedy. And Heimerdinger, it seemed like Heimerdinger, he kind of lived when he was waiting for Ekko in that alternate timeline. It seemed like he had a blast. He was singing music for people. He had his fun. He stated multiple times he lived like, isn't he like 100 or older than 100 years old? So him sacrificing himself for possibly his greatest student, Ekko, surpassing Jace for the next generation, it makes sense. Another thing I noticed is I keep seeing people talk about how they feel bad for Ekko. It's so tragic. He should have stayed, and etc. But I think Ekko has a happy ending, and let me explain. When he was in the alternate timeline with the alternate Jinx and Heimerdinger, they went back to the scene of the crime where Vi died in that timeline and Ekko collected fragments of Hextech and etc. And they built that machine with that. But what happened at the end of that episode? After the real Ekko from that timeline wakes up in the arms of Jinx, she looks up and she sees the actual Ekko that she vibed with, that she kissed, that she fell for, in the machine seconds before he gets evaporated in his real timeline. But why am I mentioning this? What happens at the exact end of that episode? We find out that, like in the original timeline, she kept a bunch of fragments of Hextech. And what is Jinx in the story? She's a genius, just like Ekko, just like Jace. Guys, rewatch the episode. They made it very poignant to put that right at the ending and zoom in on the Hextech. I think they did that because she's gonna recreate the time machine and eventually find the Ekko that she fell for. Jinx and that Ekko weren't dating. It seems like they're just really close and etc., but they weren't actually dating, and it seemed like they didn't actually have feelings for each other. It was the Ekko from the Arcane timeline that pulled up to that timeline, and he raised up that Jinx, and they fell for each other. And when I noticed that little tidbit, it just made the ending 10 times better, because I'm not gonna lie, they don't always have to show us or explain to us and tell us exactly how everyone's life is gonna go after the ending. If they put little subtle clues, I'm fine with that. I can't do an Arcane video to end off the series without talking about Mbessa. I'm not even gonna ramble about her. I just have to mention her. She was such a great addition to the series and to season 2. And the only thing, if I'm giving out complaints, is that I just wish we got more of her being her, because she's her. To end off the video, I just want to give out my favorite characters, my least favorite characters, my favorite act, and my least favorite act of the series. For my favorite characters, I gotta go with Jinx, Ekko, and Jace. It's not in order. For my least favorite characters, I might upset people, but I don't really have a lot of characters I dislike, but if I have to choose, I probably say Mel, because I feel like I was least interested in Mel's storyline, and I feel like her powers kind of came out of nowhere. Maybe if I played League, it'd make more sense. Arcane is so good, I don't dislike any really characters, but if I had to pick maybe Mel and maybe Silco, I didn't really like Silco in season 1. I thought he was good for his... I thought he was a great character, but I just didn't care for his character, if that makes sense. My favorite act in the entire series is Act 1 of Season 2, and my least favorite act of the entire series is Act 2 of Season 2. There you have it, guys. My thoughts on the ending of Arcane. This is genuinely one of the best animated shows ever, if not the best. I'm gonna miss Arcane. I heard rumors that they're thinking of making spin-off series. If they do that, I hope it comes out in like 3 years, 4 years. Take your time. Please take your time, because if the next series is as good or better than this series, y'all got it. Y'all got it forever. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree though. Was this season really that good? Did Arcane fall off this season? Or what, did Arcane upgrade this season? Let me know what you guys think. And also, let me know what you guys think also specifically on that last episode. Did it live up to the hype of the entire series? Did it live up to the build-up? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like the video, share the video to your friends that watch Arcane, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.